Are you looking for all the latest pro football news and content? Of course you are. Who doesn't love football? The question is, how do you get all the latest pro football news and content? There's so many different pro football podcasts on the internet. Which one do you choose? Which one is the right fit for you? Well, you go with the Cross the Middle Show, one of the fastest growing football podcasts out right now. Over the past year, we've climbed the Spotify rankings, become a show you have to listen to if you're a football fan. Find out if the Ravens will go all the way with Odell Beckham Jr., find out if the Eagles did enough to make it back to the Super Bowl. You'll get all of our best stories for just $1 per month. All you have to do is sign up by clicking the link in the episode description box. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's John Kuzma. This is the Cross the Middle Show, the place where we talk about all the latest pro football news in action. We're going to start with the Davante Adams story today. Davante Adams is speaking up and he's defending Josh Jacobs. He's basically saying that the team needs Josh Jacobs if the Raiders want to complete their goals. They want to win a Super Bowl, they want to be a contender, and if they want to have success, the Raiders are going to need Josh Jacobs. Davante Adams is letting the team know that it's going to be very tough for the team to be at their best if Josh Jacobs isn't there. So this is great work by Davante Adams because he's being a vocal leader for the team. He's letting the higher-ups know that, hey, if you think we can just shortchange Josh Jacobs, it's going to hurt our team in the long run. It's not a good thing. I know the higher-ups on the Raiders probably know that, but they're still being stingy, trying to squeeze every single penny that they can when it comes to Josh Jacobs, making sure that they get him for as cheap as possible. And Davante Adams is letting the team know that he doesn't really agree with that approach because the team ultimately needs Josh Jacobs, which I think we all agree with. It seems like the only ones that don't recognize it is the Raiders front office. Just some tough decisions being made by them. I don't know if they're the right decisions either because it's hard to be successful when you don't have one of your best playmakers, and that's what Josh Jacobs is. He's a playmaker. You look at the things that he does for that team. One, he establishes the run. When you establish the run, it opens up so many other phases of the game. These defenses have to contain Josh Jacobs first and foremost. He's kind of the engine of that team, and everything is an extension off of him. Without Josh Jacobs there, it becomes a lot easier to defend the Raiders. They become more one-dimensional, a team that just has to get it done passing the ball. That's the last thing you want to be in the National Football League. You have to be multi-dimensional, and, you have to have some variety, and, you have to make it tough to defend you in multiple ways. That's what happens when they can run the ball with Josh Jacobs. They can check the ball down to Josh Jacobs, and then they have their traditional passing game too. So there's like three different phases of the game that the Raiders have when Josh Jacobs is there. You take him out of that equation, though, it's just straight dropbacks. It's just all on Jimmy Garoppolo and Davante Adams. I don't think that plays to the Raiders' plays in the Raiders' favor, so to say, because it just becomes way easier to stop them. It does, because you just have to get pressure on the quarterback. You have to rattle Jimmy Garoppolo, and if that falls through, what else do the Raiders have? They don't have anything else to fall back on. If the passing game isn't working, they always can get Josh Jacobs involved, and we know he'll do some serious damage. That's why Josh Jacobs is huge to the team. The other thing he brings to the table is he's such a big playmaker. You talk about being able to break tackles and create explosive plays and, make something out of nothing. Turn plays that should be a loss into gains, catching the ball out of the backfield and moving the chains on third and long situations. Josh Jacobs can do all those things. I mean, he's such a good player, and it does so many big things for that offense that you just can't replicate by bringing the next guy in. The next guy isn't going to be able to do the same things that Josh Jacobs does. That's why Josh Jacobs was the number one running back in the league this past year. I mean, he was at the top of the totem pole. Don't you want to continue to build on what he just established this past year? That seems like the right move for the Raiders. It seems like the way they should be going. They should be happy about what they have with Josh Jacobs, and they should be leaning on that because they have something there with Josh Jacobs. If you shortchange him and, kind of alienate him, that doesn't help the team because now he feels like he's being mistreated a little bit. He feels like the team isn't looking out for him. And it's just not a good thing for the team overall, morale-wise, because now when Josh Jacobs comes back, he's going to be a little disgruntled. He's going to feel like he got hung out to dry a little bit by the team. It's just not good. That's why Davante Adams is trying to patch things up and letting everybody know, hey, we, as in the players in the locker room are speaking on this guy's behalf. Davante Adams is the guy speaking up because he's, the best player there besides Josh Jacobs. It's his role to take on. But he's letting everyone know that, the rest of the guys in that locker room feel the same way. Max Crosby, the rest of the guys they all want Josh Jacobs there. They all know how much he means to that football team. And then at the end of the day, you just can't replace that good of a running back. Trying to go with the next man up approach isn't the right approach. He's special. There's no doubt about that. Anybody who watched football last year knows how special Josh Jacobs is. And, he's evolved into this new version of himself that is playing at a different level, who has set the tone for that team this past year. It's something that they needed to build on. There's no doubt about that. They needed to bring him back and let him keep setting the tone for this team. Now, at the very least, he'll be back on a franchise tag. That's if he does step up and, decide to play on that franchise tag. We don't know if that's the case or not. Will Josh Jacobs hold out and just say the hell with it because he doesn't like the way things are going? Or is he going to swallow his pride and, show up and, just accept that he didn't get the deal that he wanted, but, he's going to play for his teammates and just say the hell with the people upstairs. I'm doing this for my guys, so to say. That's where we're at with the Josh Jacobs situation. The next story we have is MeCole Hardman. If you're looking for a player that is going to probably have a breakout season, I think it's going to be MeCole Hardman. And MeCole Hardman has been taking over at these off-season workouts with the Jets. What he does well is he's so good at going vertical. He's a vertical threat that just continuously gets behind the defense. And, when you have a guy that can open things up like MeCole Hardman does just because he runs so well, he provides a lot of value to the team because we know they have, Garrett Wilson. We know they have Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb. But those guys aren't great at stretching the field like MeCole Hardman is. Those guys are very good players. We all know that, especially what Garrett Wilson's been able to do. Allen Lazard, I love his game too. Randall Cobb, getting a little bit older, but he works well with Aaron Rodgers on a lot of that over-the-middle stuff, a lot of just the check-down stuff. So those guys do things well, but they don't do the things that MeCole Hardman does. MeCole Hardman stretches the field. He's a vertical threat, and his speed can't be replicated. So what MeCole Hardman has been doing in camp is he's been going deep a lot, and that's given Aaron Rodgers a chance to create big plays down the field. You always need those explosive plays in football, some quick scores, a guy that can get behind the defense and just outrun everybody, a guy that puts pressure on the safeties and, can make those 20-plus yards down the field plays. You always need someone like that can get it done vertically. Otherwise, you're playing 20 yards and under. And, yeah, even though you might have great players with Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, eventually the defense starts to clue in on the fact that you're playing 20 yards and under every time, and they start jumping all that underneath stuff. Well, they can't do that because MeCole Hardman is, getting behind everybody and he's making that 20-yard window even deeper. Now the defenses have to guard 30 yards and under. Now they have to defend 40 yards and under. It makes it tough because now those underplays become easier for the offense because there's so much more field underneath for Garrett Wilson, for Allen Lazard, for Randall Cobb, because the safeties had to drop so far deep to cover MeCole Hardman that it's tough for them to do both. They can't defend deep and defend underneath at the same time. So as a safety, you always have to be deeper than the deepest. So you have to be deeper than the fastest player downfield, which is MeCole Hardman. Well, what's that mean? It means there's windows underneath that are wide open. That's what we're going to see for the Jets. That's what MeCole Hardman is doing. And he's on the same page with Aaron Rodgers. He's really on the same page. Those two are really dialing it up. They're really bringing something different to this team that they haven't had in a while. Aaron Rodgers is throwing the football great. Some of those passes that he's fitting into those tight windows we didn't even know existed. Throwing the football all over the place. Doing a great job of just chucking it deep to MeCole Hardman, putting it out in front of him, letting him run underneath the football. Doing all the things that the Jets needed to do at this point in the season. They're looking really good. MeCole Hardman caught a touchdown in practice the other day where he ran to the back of the end zone. It was like a seam route, ran vertically, got to the back of the end zone. Aaron Rodgers put it up high. MeCole Hardman jumped up, caught it, got his feet in right at the back of the end zone, just barely got his feet in, fell out of bounds, but he got both feet in first, so it was a touchdown. Defense was upset, but it was a great play by the Jets offense. MeCole Hardman goes up and gets it. You can tell all those years with the Kansas City Chiefs and playing with Patrick Mahomes have, refined MeCole Hardman a little bit. He's not like a rookie that's coming in timid. He's got a few layers of polish on his game from being with the Chiefs all those years, being on a Super Bowl winning squad that, was all about business and being focused. And that, helped MeCole Hardman become the best version of himself. So now that he's on the Jets, he's kind of like, he's a lot better than he was with the Chiefs. And, Aaron Rodgers has noticed. He's noticed that, okay, there's something there with MeCole Hardman. It's something that can help this football team when we're talking about the Jets, just because, they're going to be so hard to defend with all those weapons. They got weapons all over the field. Two of those guys already have great rapport with Aaron Rodgers, Allen Lazard, and Randall Cobb, because they came from the Packers. Garrett Wilson is the Rookie of the Year. Then you have MeCole Hardman, who's playing his best football ever, who's the vertical threat that is just outrunning everybody. And remember, the Jets have a pretty good defense. They're no slouch on defense. That was the backbone of their team this past year. And MeCole Hardman's burning everybody. Remember, they have a good secondary over there. Sauce Gardner, a lot of other good players. They have a good defensive front that puts pressure on the quarterback very quickly, and Rodgers is still flinging the football all over the place. I seen Sauce Gardner have he defended a deep ball on Garrett Wilson pretty well. That's why you need a MeCole Hardman, because Garrett Wilson can do the other things well, but if Sauce Gardner's getting in there and breaking up the deep pass to Garrett Wilson, well, it's a little bit harder to get in there and break up the deep pass to MeCole Hardman, just because he is that fast. I seen one safety get in there and break up a pass to MeCole Hardman, but he had to jump so high to get that ball. The chances of making that play all the time are very slim. And MeCole Hardman had him deep by 5 or 6 yards. The safety just jumped up and tipped the ball out of the air. Usually that ball's getting over the top to MeCole Hardman. And I think even Aaron Rodgers knew that, okay, the majority of the time I'm going to make that throw. The safety made a big-time play in practice, and they all got hype and celebrated because the safety made a huge play. But that's not going to be a regular thing. Usually Aaron Rodgers is going to make that throw over the top. Usually that safety isn't going to elevate to that high of a level to be able to tip that ball out of the sky. And usually MeCole Hardman is just going to be able to run underneath that thing and make the catch. MeCole Hardman doing a great job at practice. I think he's heading for a big year. If you're into fantasy football or something like that, you might want to take a look at him later on, just because I think he's going to have a breakout year, one of his best years yet, just because Aaron Rodgers and MeCole Hardman are on the same page. Really, that's all I got for this latest episode of the Cross the Middle Show. Sign up for $1 per month. Just click the link in the episode description box. I'm John Kuzma. Have a great day.